Retro anime. How did we find it? How does it hold up? Unpacking the ins and outs of being an old school nerd and proving that 80s kids can't remember a damn thing right. These are the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd.
Welcome to Mindless Midlife Musings of the Anime Nerd. I'm Rick, and I'm joined by the rest of our panel, Lynette, Brian, and Vic, with our special returning guest, Andrea. How's it going, everyone?
Hello.
How's it going?
What up?
All is well. Well, in this episode, we take a trip into a world of imagination and wonder, with furry beasts, spirits of soot, and a big f***ing cat. Today, we're talking My Neighbor Totoro.
I'm sorry.
Hey.
The way you started off, it could have been a hentai episode, but
It could have been. I mean, you know. Like as hard as we've gone, right? Like we've watched a lot of anime on this show, and as many episodes as we've done, this is the most antithetical to the themes of anime we've been watching since we started the show. So I figured I'm gonna lay down the groundwork to keep the tone, but the reality is we're going in a very different direction today. My Neighbor Totoro is a 1988 Japanese animated fantasy film written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki and animated by Studio Ghibli for Tokuma Shoten. The film tells the story of a professor's two young daughters, Satsuki and Mei, and their interactions with friendly wood spirits in post-war rural Japan. So in 1989, Streamline Pictures, pretty much the only game in dubbing back then, produced an English language dub for use on flights from Japan Airlines. And Troma Films, of all companies,
wow,
distributed the dub, which is pretty wild.
Troma, the same like the Toxic Avenger and Kabuki Cop and all those weird movies.
You can thank Toxic Avenger for My Neighbor Totoro making it to the States. There you go.
Wait a minute. This whole episode is just going to be off rails. This whole episode.
They were the original distributors, and so then Fox picked up rights to that dub. They released it theatrically and on VHS and Laserdisc in 1993, and later on DVD in like 2002. But the film was re-released by Walt Disney in 2006 with an all-new dub with a whole new cast, etc., etc. Circling back to 1989 when the film came out, this was Ghibli's technically third movie. Technically, but it was, I mean, officially on paper, I think it's only their second. Because Nausicaa didn't count. It wasn't technically a Ghibli film. But then there was Castle in the Sky, and then there was this one. But this one was made in conjunction with Grave of the Fireflies. They both came out same time.
They were released as a double feature.
We promised never to bring up that one again, ever.
So now picture, it's 1989, 88. You're taking your kids to go to the movies, and you're like, oh, look, son, here in Tokyo, this theater, a double billing, 2 films, My Neighbor Totoro and Grave of the Fireflies. What could possibly go wrong?
Around.
It depends on what you watch first.
Oh my god!
It's like you would have to watch Totoro afterwards to get over the depression from Grave of the Fireflies.
I feel like that's and I think I want to have faith. That's how they did it. They made you watch Fireflies first, and then you got Totoro. So this is a film that is sort of notorious, right? It's more famous. It is one of those films that's so famous that there are so many people that have never even watched it, but still know the characters from it. Like that kind of famous. I know that I picked this up at Blockbuster. I rented it from Blockbuster Video in the early 90s, and it was one of those Fox releases, and they were trying to do the Disney thing. They released it in one of those stupid giant white clamshells. They're the ones that Facebook claims you could be rich if you owned, or it's complete bullshit and you can't even give them away. Those things. And I picked it up because the cover art looked like the character work in Nausicaa because obviously, right? But at the time, I didn't know that. I was just like, oh, this looks like anime. I picked it up and I brought it home. And yeah, say that it is dramatically different material than Nausicaa would be an understatement as far as tone goes. This is
Grave of Fireflies.
I feel like we have to talk about who this movie's for. And you can't just say it's for kids because that nullifies it, that dismisses a lot. But it was definitely created with children in mind versus Grave of the Fireflies. But it was I would say it's probably the closest thing Ghibli's ever done to Disney. They're telling a story was, with children in mind, but would appeal to a broader audience kind of thing.
He said, what if anime was done with Winnie the Pooh?
I please expand.
No, it gave me huge Winnie the Pooh, imaginary friend type vibe,
Gotcha.
I guess the only thing different would have been the real world consequences if the friends did not act accordingly,
Right.
Totoro, I need you to help me find May. I don't know what the talk about. Now we're talking Grave of the Fireflies.
So this film is I see what you're saying there. It does hold, there's some of that in here, right? There's some of that isn't it kind of real. This definitely, sorry, I'm trying to whittle this down to sound bites, even though I know we've got an hour to talk about it. But what this film kind of does is capture that essence of childlike innocence perfectly. It's experiencing the world through a child's wonder. And that's kind of how I feel about the movie. When I watch it, that's how I experience the movie. Which again is a dramatic change of pace for us, since we're usually used to talking about cyborgs and demons and stuff. But hey.
It even treated it with the border of prepubescent, that level of I'm a kid, but I'm about to become a teenager.
Yeah.
It felt a lot like
Sasuke?
Huh?
Satsuki, the older sister.
I'm gonna say Sasuke Ui.
That. Yeah, that's.
You'll get it down one day, Brian.
Perfect translation. Nailed it.
And the discount.
Got Totoro.
Right. All right. Hey, you know what? Andrea brings up a good point. Let's start with this. So, all right, this is a film that has a ton of mindless midlife musings. Right? There are so many rabbit holes you can go down with this film. Just the sheer amount of information that is, pertains to this world that isn't in the film is immense. And I'm not talking about manga or a series spinoff or any of that. There's none of that. It's just so much conceptual world building went into this that didn't even make it into the movie. So we found just a ton of information about this. One of the things that I never found out was that Totoro isn't even the name.
Just what she called him.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun for me. Apparently she couldn't pronounce.
Well, so apparently it's supposed to be Totoro, which is supposed to mean troll. And she gets it from a little kid's book that she's reading. And so she tells Sasuke that she met a Totoro. And she's like, you mean a Totoro? From your books? And she's like, no, his name is Totoro. And allegedly that's how he got his name, his true name. But in the movie, you just see it as him saying, Totoro. And she's like, Totoro? He's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
with
why
that.
not?
Why not? Yeah, sure.
Knowing that and watching the movie, you can sort of see for f***'s sake, fine, I'm Totoro. Whatever. There's this his temperament.
He was busy trying to sleep.
His temperament
was.
changes dramatically when you know this fact. Like she's looking at her like, oh, for God, yeah, whatever. I'm Totoro. That's fine. I
I
don't
was
care.
napping, you grabbed my tail, I tried to shake you off, you climbed on top of me, and now you're scratching my nose. I just want to sleep. Sure, my name is Totoro.
It's an almost dismissive nature to this wonderful creature.
Just imagine if she would have fell into his mouth when he was yawning.
Like there were so many opportunities for this to become Grave with the Fireflies. There are so many segues that could happen with, you know.
Well,
I'm
I
gonna
have
go
to say,
I'm going to climb up a tree.
Camphor tree.
Big tree. Um, what were you gonna say, Lynette?
to say that if you did it from like an American perspective, like that's how I looked at it. There was a scene where you see like this big claw foot under an umbrella, and then you see a big claw hand under an umbrella, and I'm like, if this was in the U.S., the kids would have run
Or died right there.
or died or been eaten.
Yeah.
And then, but in this one, the kid looks up and goes, "That leaf isn't going to help you," and gives it an umbrella.
There is.
He never gave back.
He
There
never
is.
gave back.
Yeah, there
So
is a horror movie cut of this that could be made. I'm sure. Like if you wanted to do a horror trailer of it, could be done.
But I do have to say, I want a cat bus in my life. That's a
Please.
necessity. I think I need a cat bus.
There's one located in Mitaka in Japan.
I'm thinking I've always been looking for the things I could cosplay as, and I'm thinking I'm big enough to do the cat bus safely.
I'm eating my way into a Totoro cosplay. I'm just going for round as humanly possible, and then
There you go, and then we can match.
just not gonna shave, and I'll be fine.
The problem,
You say you're gonna run around naked all day? No.
I think we're going to experience problems when we get to the actual convention, and people keep on trying to climb on top of you.
It could be problematic.
I don't think Debbie's going to like that.
So the original concept of My Neighbor Totoro, don't know if anyone knows, another mindless musing, is that originally Miyazaki wanted the story to be about humans versus the Totoro species, because humans were actually trying to annihilate them. Yeah, you didn't know that now, did you, good sir? That was the original concept, but when Miyazaki finally sat down to actually start writing a full story, he didn't have inspiration, he couldn't come up with anything. So that's when he changed the whole thing.
Sounds awesome.
Right? There is an original concept like photo out there. And it's
I
one
mean,
girl.
considering I also saw the short with the cat buses at the Ghibli Museum. I could picture that because in that short, there was like hundreds upon hundreds of cat buses just running along in the air.
Those aren't cat
Can you
buses.
imagine those things dropping off Totoros to fight?
Yeah, I said that's not cat buses. Those are drop ships.
Yep.
Just unload soldiers.
Yep. Where are we dropping, boys?
He may not be able to do it, but we can do it just fine.
Can you imagine cat buses with Totoros just running along, playing along with whatchamacallit, Fortunate Son?
Oh my God. I need that in my life.
Instead of an orbital beam cannon, is the orbital acorn cannon.
Aerial acorn launchers.
So there's like a what's that? Pompaco, where like the animals sort of uprise against the the humans. So I mean,
yeah.
It kind of feels like he was able to take that idea in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. It shows it in different ways. But that was the original idea. And it didn't last very long, but he did one concept art for it. Then when he sat down to actually write the story, couldn't come up with anything.
There you go. We have writer's block to thank for this child-friendly version.
I think if he pulled it off, this would have been a completely different show.
Yep.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. To say this movie is influential would be an understatement. It is. It has.
Hold on, damn it!
What?
Now that I think about it, he did pull it off. It's called Nausicaa. He did do it.
That's what it was. Yeah, I already did this.
Can't do it again.
For God's sake.
So this is actually a 3-parter. This is Fireflies, this Nausicaa, or this is, or we could go with this one.
There you go.
Precisely.
So unabashedly, I fell in love with this movie. Just was at the right age, and the fandom of animation and all that. That when this dropped, it was perfect. It was right in my wheelhouse. But what I thought was very interesting, and I wrote a note about here, this entire movie was done by 8 animators. So, for reference, just watch the end credits of a single Disney movie. Go ahead, I'll wait. And then come back. And then remember, 8 animators worked on this movie.
Yep.
And they did it in 8 months.
And a lot of that animation was super fluid.
They're also working on Grave of the Fireflies at the same time.
By far, some of the best animation I've ever seen.
There is so much, and like Andrea said, and simultaneously working on Grave of the Fireflies. So there is so much fantastic animation in this movie. There's so many great animator moments in this. Great little character expressions and body language and things that we totally take for granted.
Oh, just how fluid Sasuke and Mei would always run. It's like the running animations were so fluid. It's insane.
It brings you into the world, right? It really just envelops you. And you're, for me, it's like regressing to childhood, and you're exploring this world through their eyes. It's really something how it absorbs you, this film. It's very interesting in its choice in many of the choices it made. Obviously, there's a lot of Shinto based spiritualism in this, and the way that Totoro was basically a kami, which I love. I love all that. That's so cool. I love that they decided to set this in sort of 1950s-ish Japan. That was really clever of them. Just because it's a time when wonder is a little more prevalent. Like, as soon as we got internet and television, everything went downhill.
Yeah, imagination died then.
I think the word you're looking for is necessary.
Yeah, there you go. Necessary.
No, this is post-war Japan.
Yeah.
And they have seen some of the biggest atrocities ever known to man. They needed to find a way to believe in just the goodness of human spirit.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is, again, it's all part of that world building. If they would have set this in the 80s, it wouldn't have been as effective. Like, it just, I don't know, everything about it, just brilliant ideas. The film is composed by Joe Hisaishi, who is basically a god.
The one person composed it, and he wrote it in 30 minutes.
That's right. In a bathroom.
While having lunch.
And the only thing he had was a musical triangle. And a rope.
Yeah, but no, he's worked on so much.
Right. He's done basically every Ghibli film almost that's ever come out. So he started with Nausicaa with Miyazaki, and he just kind of like went from there, doing basically every soundtrack. We
really need to find out what order it came. I think I need
ticket.
Yeah, we need.
You need the answer.
Yeah, because
you're trying to know if they're setting them up or setting them up to give them hope.
Let's see if I can
find
it. Man.
Can I say, while he's looking that up, I think the detail, there's so many little nuances that even I, who is nowhere near has the eye, like, for instance, one of the things that was really awesome was when they show the bridge for the first time, right? And they're looking down into the water. They actually put like a bottle in the water. And I was like, man, that is such a human thing to do. Yeah. This wonderful river water. We're going to put a bottle in there just to let you know we have the potential to this shit up.
It's one of the things that sets Ghibli apart from other anime, from other animated films. Period. Pick your continent. It's that their world building is second to none. Everything looks lived in and used and both aged and new, and just everything about their films is meticulously thought out. And like you said, the fact that they threw a bottle in the river. Easy for any animator to just overlook that idea entirely. somebody on staff was like, to look more lived in, this should have that. And it goes to the whole thing. The house itself is
the rotted wood. Oh my God.
Amazing. So much so that they recreated it as a tourist attraction in Japan. You can visit their house. It's rotted wood and all. Like down the posts are rotted away. Like amazing.
When you're looking at I can honestly say after seeing 3, I'm gonna go ahead and say this is my first time watching Totoro.
Bravo.
Welcome.
But after experiencing 3 films from Ghibli, I can honestly say that the same way we revere some of the artists, like the guy who did Maddox 1, and we were geeking over the fact that he did the technical overlays, or we're looking at Gunbuster or anything mech design, and we're talking about the amount of details that they put in there. The same could be said with Ghibli and their devotion to just nature.
Yeah.
It's astounding. And I can honestly say, damn, do I need to wait to give you my final thoughts?
You said it eloquently. My note is not that eloquent at all. I just said I love the environments so much. And it's because I knew that would be a jumping off point for me. Yeah, man, I love the environments in this movie. Everything from the dad's desk, it's like papers and books scattered everywhere, to
he just moved in and he's like, we're gonna this whole up.
I mean, all of it. The tile work in their bathroom, how some of the tile are cracked, and some of the just that kind of commitment to world building is why they're considered the greats. Mm-hmm. It's so much that.
I actually felt like I was experiencing what rural life in Japan would be like. Like the whole, it's a rice planting day, so there's no school. So instead of a teacher work day, it's actually a student work day.
Yeah, it made me want to move to rural Japan. So
wait, too far.
Well, luckily
the rain was a little too offensive for me.
His goal was to bring bits and pieces of all over Japan that he had seen and draw it and create kind of like his own little world to show you. Every image and picture and the landscape and everything is bits that he's seen all over Japan, just mixing them all together of his favorite parts.
So it's a tourist video.
Yeah, it's a tourist
video. A tourism video. So there you go.
Video. Also, I have your answer.
Oh, we have the answer on the billing.
On the billing. So
yes, I've seen a few too.
Yeah. Allegedly, My Neighbor Totoro was first. And then they showed Grave of the Fireflies, and apparently that was so bad. It
was such a bad decision because everyone took off.
No, they were unable to finish Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what I just saw.
No.
So eventually they did swap them, but it didn't do as well.
That hurt them.
Oh, no. That was a bad move.
They made you happy, and then they just killed all happiness.
It just
everyone's sitting in the theater all nice and happy, and then your 6-year-old next to you is now crying at Grave of the Fireflies, and now your entire week is ruined.
And now they're petrified of little candy tins because they're.
Rip.
I like it matters. Our company's going out of business soon.
So there's this interesting story about kind of how Nausicaa, or more specifically, how Warriors of the Wind was so badly that this almost didn't get a U.S. release, and how they fought to make sure that nothing was cut or changed about this movie when it came out because Warriors of the Wind had been so butchered. Because of that, I appreciate that. I love that they did that, because it means that the version I saw, the streamlined dub back in early 90s, was the whole movie, and I never had to worry about not seeing a full version of it. But also, I appreciated it because there were things about it that represent Japanese culture and stuff that were new to me. as a young, or early teens or mid teens, whatever. Yeah, let's go early teens. It was so interesting to see a lot of the Shintoism in there, and sort of the cultural things about Japan, communal bathing, families bathing together. That's a thing that's like, what the are you doing, dude?
Yeah, that gets you sent straight to jail here.
Right, perfectly normal, perfectly acceptable in Japanese culture for that to happen, and then you watch it over here, and you're like, um, is anybody gonna call CPS? So
CPS has been called for less.
yeah, right, right, and sort of that, just the like you said, Andrea, sort of the all the bits and pieces of rural Japan that made up this tapestry of tourism here. But like you mentioned, Brian, the people work in the rice fields, and the way school was structured, and like all these little slice of life moments that were sort of a really great way for a Westerner like myself to get a peek at what life was like. I loved that so much, and I'm grateful that Warriors of the Wind got so that they made sure this one came over in its complete format. So fun little musing there.
Something has to be said between get out of your own way and everything. Matter of fact, we mentioned our last conversation when we were talking about how true Alita was to the source material.
Right.
The same thing could be said right now in regards to how true Totoro was to Japanese culture.
Yeah. Ghibli has made a lot of those sort of slice of life films. It's done like Only Yesterday. It's done like
When Marnie Was There.
Yeah, When Marnie Was There. Another
so
one.
Many. Ocean Waves.
Yeah, so they do a lot of these sort of slice of life movies. And this is that injected with some of that Winnie the Pooh fantasy Brian was talking about. And I think that that's what made this so successful. So like a lot of Ghibli's other films that are these slice of life movies, like From Up on Poppy Hill and things like that, they never saw the notoriety that Totoro did. So it's like they took the idea of this slice of life, living, these two girls coming to terms with a sick mother, et cetera, and then they injected it with this whimsy of fantasy, and it made all the difference in the world.
Slice of life, particularly My Neighbor Totoro, was actually inspired by Miyazaki's childhood, because his mother was diagnosed with tuberculosis, and she was in and out of hospitals for like 9 years when him and his little brother were done. In fact, he even said himself that if he made the characters, the children, boys, he wouldn't have been able to make it because it hit way too close to home for him. And
that's it, isn't it? That's it. All right, that was my question.
Question is, what was the mother sick with?
What was the mother sick with?
And technically in the movie, they never say. They leave it very ambiguous. She's just ill. But knowing that his biological mother, Miyazaki's, was diagnosed with spinal tuberculosis.
Oof.
Yeah, really bad. That's kind of the assumption. And he also says that he loosely based it on his childhood, and so much, and even May is modeled after his granddaughter. So.
Can I say that
niece, I apologize, not granddaughter.
All right.
Niece.
Can I say I enjoyed the fact that I did not have to deal with the tragedy.
Oh yeah. It could have gone the other way. If they hadn't included that 2 or 3 shots during the credits, it could have been a very different tale. Like that, those couple illustrations in the end credits really brought it back around for me. It was without a doubt, brought brevity to the end. I'm like, oh, she made it home, and then you're like crying, like she made it home.
She just sleeping in her bed.
Which, just fortunately enough, happened with Miyazaki.
Oh, well, you're just bringing all the good news today. For the double billing thing, that's horrible.
I bring the truth.
One of the we're jumping around a lot. I wrote a lot of notes down, but I kind of wanted to jump a little bit about one of the things that makes this movie really, really great, in my opinion, isn't even Totoro or any of the other fantasy characters like Cat Bus. It's simply how well they wrote the kids. May is so equivocally a 4-year-old girl that it is alarmingly accurate to watch.
Very true.
Not only that, but Sashimawukui.
Sasuke.
Yeah, Satsuke. That's just how they say it.
We'll get it eventually.
Satsuke.
So Sashimo.
Yeah.
So I've been watching a lot of MasterChef Junior, and she has a lot of the same energy that you see in these 8 to 12-year-olds as well. You know, whatever they're doing, there's a level of excellence that they're all trying to achieve. You know, I thought that Sashimo was so good. Like, I actually had a note that May, when I compared the two girls, May is the childhood equivalent of what you heard. I'm all about it. and Satchmo, she went on to win all the track and field events in the 1992 Olympics. She was running her off.
That's her little sister, bro.
Decathlon, all them she was winning.
Yeah, when she made it to that one couple on that little whatever that thing was with the 3 wheels. They're like, when they asked what she's from, she was like, yeah, from Magruto. They're like, Jesus Christ, that's like forever that way.
She's like,
you know, just the looks on their face. It's like she ran all that.
Trying to get some cardio in.
It wasn't even stopping for like breath, or you didn't see her walk. No, she was booking.
She's running like 75 miles an hour, and some dude's like, hey, did you find her? And we were like, nah, I'm just running to burn carbs. Like,
First got the idea to go running. Watch Totoro. Was like, I'm gonna run.
Never just took off in a straight line. She would just like curve out to the direction that she wanted to go. And I thought it was such a wonderful highlight of how running occurs. It doesn't,
absolutely,
you know, especially when you're doing that whole picking up speed, it's not a straight line you're going over there. You are using the centrifugal force of the earth to bend you out.
You are kind of all over the place. No, I agree with you. That's so natural that it's easy to overlook. So I'm glad you noticed it. I really am, because those kinds of things are those moments where it's what turns just the art form into a work of art. Animation in and of itself is a simple process. Take a ton of drawings, you know, sequentially order them, make movement, make the illusion of movement. But to make it an illusion of life, to make it an illusion of reality, that's where the magic happens. This movie does that in spades. There's this moment where Satsuki is standing there at the well and Granny's next to her and she's like, oh, we're gonna find him. And you watch, it's so subtle and it's so good. You watch this girl, this 9-year-old girl, go from confidence to heartbreak to destroyed in a matter of seconds. It's so good, so powerful, and I just respect to that. That's hard to do, and it's every anime nerd out there aspires to draw. Like, this movie's a masterclass on it. I love this movie. It's too early for my final thoughts because
my favorite scene was the raindrops.
Oh.
Yeah,
just to hear the little raindrops, and then seeing the animation of Totoro's eyes. He's just like all getting excited, and then he just goes, and he jumps, and boom! And I was like, "This is the best." I had to rewind it and watch it again because it was just like,
yeah. Full disclosure: I have shaked the tree to hear the sound of the raindrops on my umbrella. I have done this. I've done it as a child. I've absolutely done this. It's the greatest sound in the world.
It's the original ASMR.
Mm-hmm. And it's so soothing. It's weird.
When he does it, I'm like, oh, I get you, mother. I get you.
Like he hears like pink, pink, and then he hears more pink, pink, and then he's like, I need more, and he just
Like, I'm gonna get all the drops.
Gets the tingles everywhere.
yeah, he's like his ears all perk up. Like this is the best scene ever. Rewind, rewind.
So cute. It's actually the scene I have painted on
You're right.
on my
in
wall.
our studio here. The scenes with. So when I was younger and I watched this originally, I hated May. They annoyed the shit out of me. You weren't here yet.
I was just about to say, is May code for me?
No, you weren't here yet.
Because I can understand
it. But if you were here, you were not maying around.
Let's hear more of the wonderful dynamic between you two. What else was going on?
I hated May. I just, oh my god, she's so annoying. Who the hell would put up with this? Now I watch it, having had a child and having had a kid sister that grew up with it. Every time we watched it afterwards, I loved her because she was so genuinely authentic. Like she was so.
That's a great word. That's a great word. Authentic.
She was willing to stare down a crack in a wall for a dust bunny. I mean, that's just...
oh my
And then
god!
she poked the hole in the wall.
And that girl caught a dust bunny. I even wrote the note. I said, May didn't catch a dust bunny. She f***ing obliterated it.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, first she goes, and then she went. So she couldn't cup her hand because she's 4.
Oh no!
She's like, I'm gonna catch it. And it's like, oh, there's guts all over my hand.
And it's such a great scene where she's running and she sees Granny and she's like, oh, and she like backs up and like, I'm gonna go around. And she like, to avoid the woman, the stranger, like go around and still get to her sister and have with their hands clasped the entire. It's so good. It's so good. I love this movie.
And I said, I love Granny.
It's great.
Granny. Right. So here's the thing about Granny.
Brian has a granny fetish.
Them granny girls said different.
Brian, please explain what's so great about Granny. I want to hear this.
Oh no, we're going down a whole different mindless musing right now.
No, I think we can.
No. I try to keep it wholesome. This motherfucker decided want to choose violence. Nah. We're talking about grandma draws. We're talking about bloomers and the things it does to us. You did this.
Can we not? Can we just?
It's family friendly, y'all.
Can we just circle back?
No.
Wholesomeness.
Grandma does it for me. I hope she doesn't have no wooden, but she does have a wooden leg. And man,
she's an excellent character, Brian. Yes, I really appreciate her character. Andrea says there's a story about Granny.
So,
there's some actual like meat to this story here.
It's a visual.
So before you do that, let me.
No, please tell us, please.
I don't know if I want to circle back. I feel like I was getting this train out of the station.
His original thought was family friendly. Let's hear it.
We were leaving. We were good.
So Granny, the first thing I loved about her was she did not try to make her feel stupid for seeing the dust bunny.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I loved about her. She was so supportive in all of the fantastical ideas that either of the girls had. Like, yes, I used to be able to see them too. Now you can see them. She never made them feel stupid about that. And I thought that
it's like all the parents were that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never dismissive of the magic, which is such an easy thing to do. Like, all right, let's compare it real quick. It's like Never Ending Story. Everybody remembers that movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's how
And the song just entered my head. Thanks.
There you go. That's what I do. So it's
Granny looking pretty sexy now, huh?
how easy it is to dismiss this, these beliefs. You think you've seen something, or you know you've seen something, and everybody's just like, dude, it's just a calm the down. Like, It would have been so easy, and a Western parent would have that shit up straight out, right out the gate. They've been like, "No, you did not see a dust bunny. What the hell? Get out of here!"
And it made it feel like it was generational. You know,
Yeah,
it made it feel like this is something. Yes, I have seen these as well. If anything, it felt more like a Native American totem as opposed to just something that could have been easily dismissed. I have so much respect for her for that. Another thing that I loved about Granny was when she's breaking the corn,
mm-hmm.
right? She just snaps the stalk like a G. You know, but again, that's something she has. You could tell her hands would have been calloused.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I love that. She had the tenderness, but when it came to working the land, she's like, I'm about that life as well.
Oh hell yeah, she was out in those
Yeah,
rice
just because
fields.
she's 300 years old doesn't mean she can't snap corn.
Dude, she was. Yeah, no, she's a great character, and there's like I said, Andrea's got some meat to that story.
Well, actually, it's really great that you actually mentioned it, Brian, because that's kind of like basically there's an untold visual story for Granny mostly. So the lore for Dust Bunny specifically is that they inhabit vacant houses, and then it's like the grandson, Granny's grandson, he's like, you're living in a haunted house, like all these little cues in the way that the house looks. It's actually because during that time, the house, you see that there's a sunroom. Sunrooms were only added to houses back then when there was a family member that was ill and needed to be taken care of or was in and out of the hospital. So the story, the visual story that's told is that someone did live in that house and they were ill and they passed away. That's why the house was vacant for so long. That's why the Dust Bunnies moved in. And it's theorized that Granny came over so early to talk to him, and that even the father says at one point, he mentions like, oh, Granny knows, about the house or something. The reason why she doesn't question the soot sprites or anything like that, or the Dust Bunnies as they're supposed to be called, all that fun stuff, is because she helped to take care of the person that used to live there. That's why they don't question them, is because they know that they did move in because that house has been empty for so long. They believe in all these spirits and all that because they've experienced the death of someone in their house already. And that's why the house is rotted and wooden and stuff like that. And that's why the dad is so eager and excited to have Granny help out with the girls. It's because Granny has lived through this. That's why she's so tender and nice to them and doesn't dismiss them and stuff, because she already knows the pain they're going through. So that's the story about Granny.
And these mother decided to release
Yeah. Yep.
Grave of the Fireflies after this.
Yeah, so the grandson knew that someone had passed away in there. That's why he believed the house was haunted, not because of the Dust Bunnies. The Dust Bunnies are just something that happens. They live in vacant houses and stuff like spiders and everything else. He believed the house was haunted because someone had passed there. And Granny is the one that helped to take care of them.
So this is I love that. And what I love about that makes me mad as well, which is that I feel like they could have made this movie 3 hours long.
Funny enough, the movie was actually way shorter. The movie was supposed to only be, I think, a 70-minute movie or 60-minute movie. And when they decided to do Grave of the Fireflies at the same time, Grave of the Fireflies got an extension on their movie. And so then Miyazaki went and was like, yo, can we make my movie a little bit longer? Like, I have more information to give them. And at first they said no, but when originally the story was going to have one daughter and she was going to be about 12. When he split it to 2 girls, he's like, well, I have so many characters now. I need to give them more meat on their bones because I need to explain the dynamics between the sisters. And they approved that. So the movie originally was even supposed to be
of malnutrition.
Yeah. So originally the movie was even supposed to be shorter, which means we would have got less.
See, there's so much lore and backstory to this movie. This is one of those rare anime where there's so much more material than what we were given, and it's rare. I mean, usually like with Disney, you get access to conceptual art of a project or things like that, and the same is true for this story. But there's so much there that could have been a whole other hour.
Oh yeah, that's why there's so much stuff for this. There's documentaries and stuff.
After experiencing both Grave and uh and Totoro, I can say now it is actually, I don't want to use the word raise the bar for what I'm expecting from Studio Ghibli, but I can say that they are masters of the emotions they want you of making sure that the emotions that they want you to feel. Oh, by the end of the movie, you're going to feel this one. If you want to go ahead and watch Grave with the Fireflies. If you want Wonderment,
Totoro's your jam.
yeah, I love that. I love that, and I can't wait.
Yeah, no, it's. I could probably go on and on about that. I have notes that I didn't even touch on.
I am presently sitting in my May cosplay. That's how much I love this thing.
Yeah, this I mean, it's a mural in the studio to Totoro. We have Totoro plush everywhere, and that's the effect this movie had on everybody. Not just Western audiences, Eastern audiences. They've adopted and adore this story. It's their Mickey Mouse, right? Like more than that, like they revere, like a lot of Westerners here, we think of Mickey Mouse and we think of consumerism and Disneyland and bullshit. Over there, Totoro's revered. He's like Kami. Like you put some respect on Totoro. Like it's just, and it's really cool to
So which one
experience that.
would be more famous, Totoro or Pikachu?
Pikachu is more famous. Totoro is more loved. Because Pikachu's made it. Pikachu left Japan. Pikachu belongs to the world now, right? Pokemon's everywhere, but Totoro is revered. Totoro's obviously 1,000 times better character, but Totoro is more beloved. Like everybody knows Pokemon, you may love or hate it. The people that know Totoro, it's a higher bar. Like those people revere that character. So I'd say Totoro is more loved, but Pikachu is more known.
I think we can say that on top of that is, as much as you see My Neighbor Totoro, this story really is not really much about Totoro as much as it is about the girls.
That is 1,000% true. Yeah, she's Totoro doesn't even make an appearance for the first 40 minutes of this damn movie.
And to the point where it felt like, how we talk about the term exposition, right? Where we get huge information dumps. They didn't do no exposition in this movie.
No, none.
No,
no, you're just sucked into that world and you're experiencing it the way they are.
And like pre-war Japan, 2 girls. None of that. There is just straight girls are driving the countryside and
hiding from the cops.
Yeah, hiding from the cops. I didn't understand that one. That one
because they were in the bed of the truck without seatbelts on, man. I mean, well, admittedly, it's the 50s. Seatbelts didn't exist, but maybe they're just not allowed to ride in the bed of the truck. I don't know. That's kind of the way I interpreted it, but I know that's a very Western thing. It's like, oh, they're not allowed in the bed of the pickup. They're hiding from the cop.
So you see so much. I think what the one complaint that I have about it is that they had spent so much time world building, that when it finally got to conflict, the conflict had to be resolved quicker than I would have liked, especially in regards to them having to go to Totoro and Totoro having to be the one to help save May. And even then, Totoro wasn't the one to save May. It was the cat bus.
Totoro called them a cat Uber and was like, get your sister. It was.
So it felt like they said, oh, we've done so much world building. Oh, we still have a story. We got to have conflict.
Yeah.
And apparently cat buses have built-in May GPSs, May positioning systems.
I think that's. I agree with you, Brian. It is resolved too quickly and without any real interaction or interference from Totoro. But I think at the same time, that's the point, right? Because it's not his story, right? It's Mei and Satsuki's. It's about their relationship. So him being the Deus Ex Machina that could have came in and fixed it all, would have diminished their sort of slice of life moments. I mean, he did ultimately help, like summoning her an Uber. But if he would have just been like, "I'm apart the trees and bring your," like there's so much they could have done with it, but by not doing it, they made the smarter choice of keeping the story smaller. That's sort of how I interpreted it.
Here's the reason why I bring that up. All right. Whenever you deal with some type of imaginary character, right? They somehow show you the real world effects of that person, of what truly transpired, during this action. So what you saw a big giant. No, you didn't. You actually went over there, and subconsciously you went and you took all the acorns over there. They show that one time in Totoro, and that's when they're looking for May the first time Satchmo gets home from school.
Yeah, and they like go through the shrubbery in the forest.
All right, so that one time they show that, but when we're talking about at the end of the movie, no, they didn't. They let you completely believe in the fantasy of the cat bus bringing her to May.
So there's a build up to that. Right? You're right in that when May finds Totoro for the first time, it can very easily be dismissed as imagination, like she imagined it. Right. She wakes up in the brush. But then a little bit later on, there's the tree growing scene where they plant the seeds that they got from Totoro, and then overnight they wake up, they go out, and then they will the trees to life. It becomes this giant camphor tree, and then they go out and they ride the top and have a great time. And then they wake up the next morning and there's no giant camphor tree, but the trees did sprout. There's now sprouts in the ground. And it's this great thing where Satsuki's like, it was all a dream. And then May's like, but it wasn't a dream. And she's like, but it was all a dream. But it wasn't a dream, because it was both. Right? It was a dream, but there were real world effects in their dream. It was a barren field. And the next day they had little sprouts. So that was sort of the hint of like, this can have an effect. I don't know if it was you can have an effect if you believe, kind of I believe in fairies thing, but it definitely progressed, right? Because by the end, they legit rode a cat bus and dropped off some corn. There's no question about it. So I think you're joining them on this journey to believing in this creature. Sort of my 2 cents on that.
That's interesting.
I mean, it also, Totoro did steal an umbrella. The umbrella didn't just disappear on its own.
Man, it was for his ASMR content, all right? He appreciates the gift.
Follow, and subscribe.
Follow, and subscribe.
So we're getting into it here. We should wrap this up. As much as I could continue to talk about Totoro, we do need to wrap it up. So, Lynette, actually, before we wrap up, sorry, Lynette, I want to know, how did you guys watch it? Did you watch the subtitle, the streamlined dub, or the Disney dub?
I watched the most recent Blu-ray subtitle.
I did the subtitle as well.
And Brian, you watched it dubbed, right?
Well, I watched it on HBO Max, so I think it was the most recent.
You watched the Disney dub. Cool. Cool. That's cool. No, it's very interesting. So I watched, Andrea and I watched the earlier dub, the streamlined dub. It was kind of cool. I just kind of wanted to see how everybody had approached it. And it's great, and it's a testament to this film and every version of this film. We all got the same experience out of it. So I think that's just an interesting, just curious. So Lynette, by all means, take us out of the gate here in our final thoughts segment. What do you think of My Neighbor Totoro?
I loved it. I'm with Brian. This is the first time I've seen it. I've seen trailers for it. Of course, if you go to any convention, you're gonna see the plushies, you're gonna see the figures, you're gonna see the pillows. I think one of my friends nearly screamed when they saw the Totoro body pillows that you could get. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, I know this character, but why are you freaking out about it? She had grabbed it, she had grabbed the show pillow and almost didn't give it back to the, to the person. The lady had to do a hostage negotiation. Here, you can have this pillow. I need the display one back. So I thought it was the most adorable thing to see. Is that she's just like and just walking around. And then finally watching it, I got to enjoy. I got to see why she had like a little freak out about Totoro because I'm telling you, the raindrop scene, I was like, he is my favorite. I'm gonna rewind that, and I could watch that just that scene over and over again. But I did enjoy the world building. Like I didn't know that you had to first add water to the water pump before you can pump water out of the
Oh,
water
now.
pump.
1,
I
2,
was
1,
like,
2.
so I was like, yeah, I have to pull out the golden boy. I was like, so educational. You're just pulling all this stuff.
I'm with you.
So that to me, I was gonna say, if you haven't watched it, watch it. It doesn't matter what version you watch it in, you just gotta watch it. Just don't watch Grave of the Fireflies after
For the love
or
of God.
Means
before.
before.
Or in the same week. Just,
That's a special occasion film. Special occasion.
This is what, 3 months to do that?
So, all right, Vic, why don't you go ahead and tell us your thoughts on My Neighbor Totoro?
Okay, so I actually didn't watch it throughout the 90s, and I didn't watch it throughout the early 2000s either. It wasn't until I took my first trip to Japan when I went to the Ghibli Museum, and I saw the Cat Bus short, and I was like, okay, I suppose I should actually watch this when I get back. Which I did, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's cute and adorable, and definitely should be watched right after Grave of the Fireflies.
Absolutely.
But
Immediately.
what's nice about it is that it's something you could just relax and watch and just enjoy the fantasy aspect of it. It's just so soothing to watch. It's like a feel good movie overall.
It's like a morning cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I get
A
it.
great little cafecito first thing in the morning. Perfect.
There you go.
Ay, qué rico.
Yeah. Brian, go ahead, buddy. Talk to me about Totoro.
I have multiple things I need to say about this. So the
Let's
first thing
go.
I need to talk about is grandma's bloomers.
Let's not. Please let's not.
The second thing I need to say about it is that I watched it today. Today was the day I was watching it, and it was blessed because of the fact that my son had came to visit me from Virginia, and it was a surprise. So I was sitting in my bedroom watching it, and he walked in and he was just telling something to me. He looked at me. He says, "Oh, you watching Totoro?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "I was like, have you seen it before?" He said, "Yeah, I've seen all of Studio Ghibli."
Oh, snap.
Man, I gotta tell you, as a father, I have watched a lot of anime, and one of the things that you said in the very beginning, Rick, was that this is a completely different tone from most of the things that we have watched. And I fell in love with this tone. It's I didn't know how much I needed it, and not just that, I didn't know how much I wish I had it in my life so I could have showed it to my kids and showed it to them. So I'm not just saying that we need to watch it. I'm saying that this is something that you need to expose your children to as well. The final thing I was going to say about it is that we we don't accept cultures the way we should in the world. And if you allow yourself to not try to make this what you want it to be, but to just accept it for what you're currently looking at, it's a much better experience. It's easy to get hung up on the father bathing with the daughters. You could easily have made the argument for that, but
And it could have been days of Twitter outrage, like without a doubt.
But there's something that's there in terms of the love and just the care that he had for his daughters. Man, just imagine the women that they grew up to be. If you just take it from there, the positive examples of manhood that they were surrounded by. He wasn't too proud. He wasn't. He cared for his wife. He cared for them. He did the hard things. There are so many lessons of manhood that the father that we really should give him some credit for, and I applaud him for that. And I can honestly say that just from what I'm seeing now, I cannot wait to watch more Ghibli, and I can see myself watching Ghibli with the same vigor that I did Golden Boy or Gunbuster or Super Dimensional Fortress Macross. They've earned my respect. I just had to point that out.
I love that take. It's an excellent way to describe this and talk. That was beautiful. Mine's gonna suck. So let's go to Andrea. Andrea,
Follow that. You two have to follow that up.
Who wants to follow that? So Andrea, by all
I'm
means.
glad I went first.
Yeah, no shit.
All
Final. That was beautiful. Brian, Andrea, final thoughts? Totoro.
All right. Well, I'll follow that. It's fine. You know what? I'll jump onto that. So I grew up with the film because I had a wonderful older brother, Rick, who went ahead and showed me all of these wonderful Ghibli films, and of course, My Neighbor Totoro was one of them. So I watched it growing up, and it obviously shaped my life very much. Everything I have is Ghibli and all that fun stuff. But My Neighbor Totoro specifically, I adored May growing up because I was her.
Related
Yeah, I
heavily
related
to
to
me.
her. I was her. I always wanted to follow my big sibling. I wanted to do all of that. And I, was absent-minded, spatial awareness, non-existent, would get lost very easily. So fun. But growing up, I always constantly rewatch that film because it's like you said, Brian, it has a lot of good lessons in it. One of the things is you can get caught up on the fact that the father is taking a bath with the girls. But one of the great things in that scene in particular is when they're scared and they're sitting there because of the storm and the dust bunnies and like all this stuff, the dad just randomly starts laughing really loud. When they look at him like, Dad, what the are you doing? He's just like, well, if we laugh, then the spirits will go away. So do you want to stay in like a haunted house or do you want to laugh and make the spirits go away? And they all just started laughing and he was, making the tub a mess and like all this stuff. And as they're laughing, all the soot spirits leave. And that in and of itself is a good lesson of like, when you're scared, when things are really bad, you could either sit there and be scared and live in that negativity, or you could just laugh, just make a joke, just try and find the good parts, stop looking at the scary storm and just realize, oh my God, this is the first time, I'm taking a bath in my new house and this is my new house and it's a new adventure. Oh my God, this is going to be great. And you kind of do that. So My Neighbor Totoro, that's what it reminded me a lot of, is like, this story is not a good, happy story in a sense of like their mom is in the hospital. It's a lot of hardships. The dad's overworked to the point that, Satsuki has to basically take over the responsibilities of cooking, making lunch, taking care of her little sister, like all these regular heartaches and chores or errands or whatever that we all deal with. At the same time, it's mystical and it's happy and they have a good dynamic and, they have the neighborhood and all that stuff. It's nice to see that it's at the base of it just a regular everyday story, but happy because they choose to be happy. They pass on the lesson. And that's what I love about it.
Damn,
it's a great film, bro.
That's
it's
really
a great
good.
One.
I just had to make sure people understand that the whole laughing for fear is a wonderful emotion to do that for. If you're aroused, maybe laughing's not the best thing.
Definitely, yeah. You don't want to associate those two.
Not, yeah.
So I didn't know. I'm pretty sure they didn't cover that in Totoro. So this is your neighborhood Brian telling you.
Thanks, fatherly advice.
Yeah. If you're aroused and you're with somebody, don't laugh at them.
Laughing is the worst possible time. Yeah,
Worst
I agree. I do want to say before I get into it, Satsuki is awesome. She's 10 years old and she was taking care of that house. She had taken on the responsibility of what it was to be the mom, right? She was cooking all the meals. She was getting dad ready to go to work. She was getting May ready for the day. She was cooking meals. I can't get my 9-year-old son to make a goddamn sandwich. And she was cooking rice and like making bentos.
And I wanted one really badly.
She's amazing. Love that girl. Like, excellent character. Like everybody in this is. So dive in right from there is that every character is great in this. Every character is relatable in their own right. Even Kanta, the neighborhood boy, who's got a crush on Satsuki, and he's afraid of the house at the same time, and he's intimidated by girls because he's never had any around him, and you can see that he's uncomfortable just being in their presence because he doesn't know what to do.
Priority. He did not know. He did not read their terms and conditions, so he wasn't with them. I agree with you.
But he's also so great and endearing, and he gives up his umbrella because he's been raised right, and he's a gentleman. And the way he rides that giant bicycle when he's trying to go meet up with Satsuki, he's sideways in this damn bicycle, but he's dedicated to doing the job because he's trying to help. Every character lives in this world, and every one of them is so well written and so thought out. It's such an inviting world, and to piggyback off of what Vic said, it's like a warm, inviting feeling to revisit this anime every time I watch it. And I've watched it a lot, and I never get tired of it. I always, at the end of this movie, you don't get a sense of huzzah, or you don't get a sense of dread. You get a sense of just a nice, soothing exhale. You just did meditation for an hour. I don't know how to describe the warmth that this movie gives me. And
you just had a warm hug.
Right. This movie's a warm hug. And everybody should get a nice warm hug. And if you haven't seen it, when you got this far in the podcast, you should have stopped it and went to go watch it ages ago. But it belongs in the top 10s. It belongs at the top of the game for animation. Even, and I have a note as I wrote it down because I thought that was so baller. Even Akira Kurosawa lists My Neighbor Totoro as one of his top favorite movies. You can get a badass like Kurosawa to be like, this movie right here. I love this movie. And it's a story about two girls and their imaginary. Like, come on. That's a testament to the power of this movie.
I'm reaching into the future, and I know that Andrea is going to be censoring a lot of this because that's what she does. Yeah. And all I can hear is warm hug.
Oh gosh.
Everyone needs a warm hug.
It's only for the YouTube video.
A hard work of such a small team of people to turn out a piece of work. Turn out a piece of work that is so good that it rivals. I don't give a name a Disney movie. Take your pick.
Sorry.
This rivals it.
Well, considering that Totoro was in Toy Story,
yeah. Oh yeah, a little cross promotion there. This rivals all of them. It may not rival them all for emotional roller coasters or anything, but it rivals them for the comfort and joy that it brings you.
I would go so far as to say that against other anime, like for the amount of people that it took to write this. Meanwhile, how many motherfuckers butchered Burn Up? You son of you tell the difference between.
I think you mean 3x3 eyes.
Yeah, 3x3 eyes.
3x3 eyes, or cool devices. I mean, 8 people. This is the samurai of anime.
I love it. Oh man! All right, I love it. All right, so just two more fun little mindless midlife musings. The Streamline dub version that I watched uses a lot of the same voice actors that Streamline uses, throughout history. So, but one of the fun ones that was interesting to me is that the character May in the Streamline dub is played by Cheryl Chase, who a little younger anime nerds will know as the voice of Angela Pickles from Rugrats. I thought was a fun.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So if you take a couple minutes to go enjoy the Streamline dub version, you'll hear Angela Pickles is May. and Scott Bernard of Robotech fame plays the dad, Greg Snegoff.
That's why her voice sounds so familiar. I just thought it was because I grew up with her, so yeah, of course she always sounded. No, it's Angelica Pickles. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, you super grew up with her.
Super grew up with her.
Can I get amusing for me too?
Yeah.
We're talking about voices. The Disney voice is Dakota Fanning and Elle Fanning.
Yeah, two genuine sisters, which I love that they brought that dynamic in.
And not just that, I love the maturity of the voice. Like Dakota Fanning, her voice has always been so mature. Like from Man on Fire, she has such command. Like it's almost the same level of, I'll say even more than like Kristen Dunst in an Interview with the Vampire.
Right. Yes.
I don't know who or what Sesame Street that girl was watching, but goddamn, we need to make sure everybody's watching that Sesame Street.
And the dad in that dub is Tim Daly, voice of animated Superman from all the Warner Brothers cartoons.
And he spelled super.
So there you go. Superman played a super dad. So I guess that's gonna.
Since you did that, since you brought him up, we got to give a shout out to Kevin Conroy.
Oh yeah, no, Kevin Conroy. He passed a couple weeks ago before we recorded this. We never really got a chance to talk about it. I don't even know what to say about it, other than
just say that we have been surrounded by some titans of voices we will never forget. We hear them all the time, and he is definitely one of those. Yes. Damn, I'm on fire today.
He brought it. See, that's it. All right. Well, folks, thank you. I really appreciate y'all listening. This is going to do it for our show this week. So until next time, keep calm and enjoy the warm hug of My Neighbor Totoro.
Warm hug?
Warm hugs.
Warm hug.
I'm Rick, and I like warm hugs.
Bloomers.
No. No bloomers.
You've just been privy to the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd, presented by Geek Grotto. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Geek Grotto. For show notes and corrections, or for general geeky fun, you can visit our website at geek-grotto.com. If you would like to sponsor the show, you can do so on the podcast's Red Circle host site, redcircle.com/shows/MMMAN. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, please like, follow, and subscribe.